going to see things that are there that they should see. They're walking, I mean, you imagine they're walking down the sidewalk and plunk right into a lamppost. Where did that come from? Okay? It's because they didn't see it. Pastors need to be able to see. They stumble in judgment. So you can't see, you can't walk straight. For all tables are full of vomit and filthiness. What is one of the main side effects of drinking? Puking. Drinking and puking go hand in hand. And how would you like to show up for church one Sunday, and the pastor got up and stumbled up to the pulpit, ran into it, hit his head, and then vomited all over the communion table? It's not good. It's not good. And if you're a minister, you're a church member, and you've been sold this bill of goods that says, you can drink okay, it's in moderation, you can control it, can't you? They lied to you. There's a whole section of the Bible targeted specifically to church people. You ought to pay attention to the Bible. Isaiah chapter 56 verse 10, His watchmen are blind. They're all ignorant, they're all dumb dogs, and they cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough, and they are shepherds that cannot understand, and they all look to their own way, everyone for his own gain from his quarter. Come ye, say they, and I will fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink, and tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant. Now I'm going to get mean. You're a father. You're a mother. You have a responsibility to a wife, you have a responsibility to a husband, but you also have a responsibility over your children. You are the watchman over those children. You're to protect those children. Those children are counting on you to bring a salary home so they can have food on the table. American history is loaded with stories of young kids that grew up that just barely had enough food on the table because Dad drank up the paycheck before he ever made it home on Friday. You probably grew up in a house with that situation, or you are causing that situation right now. You're so hooked on alcohol and strong drink that you cannot even make it home without stopping off and drinking on the way home. I worked with a guy, lost his wife and kids. You know why? He would get off work, him and his buddy would drink all the way down to where he dropped him off at his truck. Then he would get in his truck and go to the pool hall, and he would drink and play pool till 1 o'clock in the morning. Then he would come staggering home and get up at 5 the next morning and do it all over again. He finally got home and his wife said, "Get out. You don't live here anymore." And he came crying to me because he knew I was a Christian, and he said, am I ever going to get my wife back? I said, I doubt it. Unless you give your life over to the Lord and ask God to straighten you out, I don't know that she'll ever come back to you. Why would you? You promised her before you were going to quit, and you never have. She's not getting anything. She's not getting any love from you. Your kids aren't getting any attention from you because you're too drunk. And she's definitely not getting your paycheck because you're spending it all on the way home. So he decided that rather than trying to get his wife to stay with him and clean up his act, he decided to find a woman at the pool hall that drank like he did. That lasted about a month. Then he found another one. You see how it works? And let me tell you something, Dad. Let me tell you something. You are the problem with America, right? You can blame this and that and the other. You can blame all that. You sit there and watch. That's disgusting. And I want to tell you something. Your job as a dad is to watch over those kids. And I want to tell you something. You come home drunk every night and you're not watching your kids. Yet I want to tell you something. There's a wolf after your kids. There's some child molester after your children, or some abuser after your children, or there's some whoremongering boy after your daughter, and you're too drunk to deal with it, and you're not watching. You know what you are? You're a dumb dog that won't bark. You would rather stay in a bottle and drink and take care of yourself. They're greedy dogs which can never have enough. And they all look to their own way, everyone for his own gain. And all you care about is you. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for not taking care of your wife. Ladies, for not taking care of your husband, and for not taking care of your kids. No wonder your 14-year-old daughter has to be on the pill. No wonder. No wonder your kids got molested, because alcohol busted up your marriage, and now you got some live-in guy with you that's messing with your kids. No wonder. You'd just rather keep on drinking and doing drugs. I'm going to throw drugs in here too, because that's part of the whole thing. Still drunkenness no matter what. America has an incurable wound right now called alcohol, called drug abuse. And it is destroying the American home faster than probably anything else in the world. Why? Because the parents whose job it was to maintain a stable house and watch over and protect the kids, you just decided it was just better to be drunk and drink and serve yourself. There's something wrong with you. And you know what? You did it today, and you're going to wake up tomorrow morning, do it all over again. Even though you tell yourself at night, I can't do this anymore, you're going to do the same thing the next day. You didn't know the Bible said all this, did you? Micah chapter 2, verse 11, If a man walking in the Spirit and falsehood do lie, saying, I will prophesy unto thee of wine and of strong drink, he shall even be the prophet of this people. So let me tell you what God's doing. I'm talking about these preachers that are saying it's okay to drink and okay to do this and okay to do that. And I'm going to tell you something. God sent these preachers to this country. What? Yeah, God did. Because here's a group of people in this country that all they care about is Budweiser, Bud Light, Miller Lite, whiskey, scotch, vodka. That's all they care about. Can't wait for the party, can't wait for the Super Bowl to come along, can't wait for the this and that and the other. Everything that they do in life has to involve alcohol. I mean, if you notice that there's a get-together, who's bringing the beer? Okay? A bunch of guys come over, going to watch the game. I got the beer. Beer's in the fridge. And every function that you have, it doesn't matter if it's a religious holiday like Easter and Christmas, and Thanksgiving, when we're supposed to be lifting our head to God, saying, God, thank you for this, what we have. Somebody's going to lead in the prayer. Oh, we're going to pray now. We're going to act real religious for about 5 seconds. And then the wine and the whiskey and the beer's coming out, because the ball game's on. We can't do anything in this country without drinking something. And our politicians are just as bad or worse than we are. By the way, that thing about kings and princes, did you know that in most congressional halls in this country, they have active contracts with distributors that will supply and sell beer and liquor to the congressional offices of whatever state they're in? Anytime there's any kind of entertainment function, whether congressmen or whatever, the governor is trying to entertain, let's say, business leaders or something like that, what are they all sitting around doing? Hey, how you doing? Okay, let's make a deal here. You think they're really interested in the American people? You're crazy. You know why? Because they got alcohol mixed in with it, and it's perverted their judgment. Okay? Now, let me tell you what happens. Let me tell you what happens. You remember Noah, don't you? Yeah, you know, the guy with the ark and all that stuff. Okay? Here's something I bet you didn't know about Noah. Noah had a problem. Noah was a drunk. What? Yeah, Noah was a drunk. In fact, the first thing that Noah did, after he come off the ark and let all the animals loose, and he had a little sacrifice, a little religious service and things like that, here's the first thing that Noah did. Genesis chapter 9, verse 20, And Noah began to be an husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunken. And he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brethren without. Noah planted a vineyard, and he knew what he was doing. Planted a vineyard. It's not because he wanted raisins. He knew exactly what he was doing. He planted a vineyard. He distilled the grapes from there and made wine. And he got so drunk that he was just laying there naked. Now, who in the world wants to see their dad? I never wanted to see my dad naked. There he is, just laying there in his tent, just naked. And he doesn't care. See, it's perverted his mind. And his son Ham came in and saw his dad naked there and went and told his brothers. Did you know when Noah came to, that Noah got up and was so angry at what Ham had done and what he told about his dad being naked in there, that he cursed his grandson. He cursed Canaan. He cursed him forever. You see, you think that it only affects you. But there's a curse now upon your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, because you know for a fact that the reason why you drink is because your mom and dad did, and the reason why your mom and dad is because their mom and dad did, and it just goes on and on and on and on. And at some point, somebody's going to have to stand up and say, this is enough. We can't do this anymore. you probably didn't know this was all in the Bible, did you? Psalm 107 verse 27. Here's how a drunk man's described. They reel to and fro and stagger like a drunken man and at their wits' end. Can you think of anything more honorable than to see a man walking down the street, running into street lamps, puking on cars, out of his mind, peeing on the sidewalk? Can you imagine? There's nothing more dishonorable than to see a man or a woman in a drunken state. And see, we kind of used to laughing about it, but it's really not funny, is it? Proverbs 23:21, for the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe the man with rags. Think about the amount of money, and yet it includes gluttony in here too. Think about the amount of money wasted on beer, on alcohol. You spend all that money, waste all your check at the bar, okay? But then think about how much it's costing you in lawyers' fees to get out of the DUIs that you're in. Thinking about how much the insurance costs went up on you because of the wrecks that you've had, the stupid things that you've done, and now you don't have any money. Think of the money you could have had. Think of the things you could have done in life had it not been for your best friend, the beer bottle. Think about that. Isaiah chapter 19 verse 14, the Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. Yeah, that's real neat, isn't it? Okay? You get so drunk, you cannot even control your functions. You wet your britches, puke. You're laying in a pool of your own vomit. There is nothing, and you know what? There is nothing more disgusting. We don't like to clean it up because of the smell. The smell will make other people vomit. And you're laying in it. And you're so drunk, you can't even get up out of it. That's you. It's a pretty picture, isn't it? Bon Scott, lead singer, used to be singer for AC/DC. Remember that guy? Highway to Hell. Okay? That, you know, at the end, because with alcohol comes music, and with the music comes the alcohol. So they just like rock stars do, they party like rock stars. After the concert, had a big wing-ding party in the hotel room, and they all got drunk and doped up and everything else. And Bon Scott, they threw him in the back of the limo, taking him back to the hotel. And he was drunk, and he was passed out, and they tried to wake him up, and, hey, come on, we got to go in and go to bed. And they couldn't wake him up, so they just put a blanket over him in the back of that limo and let him sleep it off. They went out there the next day. His stomach started throwing the contents of it out, and he choked because he was so drunk he couldn't wake up to clear his airway. And he died from puking because he was drunk. He made it to hell. That's where you're going. You didn't know the Bible said all this, did you? Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 13. Then shalt thou say unto them, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will fill all the inhabitants of this land, even the kings that sit upon David's throne, and the priests, and the prophets, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, with drunkenness. I'm telling you that God's going to pronounce a sentence of judgment upon this